What is the most insensitive thing you've ever been asked? Why did you give him the money? My manager's response to me telling her I got robbed at gunpoint in our store. I know. At that moment I just felt that maybe my life was more important. Because your cash drawer is worth less than my life. To both of us. I broke my back when I was a teenager and am paralyzed from the waist down. A girl from school asked me, "Are you planning on killing yourself?" Me. What? No. Why would I kill myself? It's just. If I was in your situation, well, her life must have sucked to begin with. One of my first psychologists literally told me that she would kill herself if she went through the same chiz as me. Needless to say, I didn't see her again, but yeah, I relate. Lol. Who told you about this party? Same thing happened to me, twice by different people. Condescendingly said, "What are you doing here?" Once at a badminton and once at the school gym. At the gym I was with my wrestling team who backed me up and told the guy to duck off basically. Great moment of camaraderie. Oh. You came as if they weren't expecting me to. Then why invite me? / When sitting my dad and stepmom down to tell them I had cancer. Are you sure? You're always over dramatic like your mother. She watched too many soap operas. Then the following months after treatment and a major surgery they told people I didn't have cancer and I faked it. They were there for the major surgery and the treatments. So I get asked by family, "Did you really fake cancer?" WTF edit. Thank you everyone for your support. It means the world. To answer the question, yes, I kicked cancer's A. I'm very limited contact with all of my parents due to their toxic nature. I keep minimal contact for the sake of my siblings. I have confronted them, but they act like they don't remember or don't know what I'm talking about. I've showed my medical records to my other family and they were shocked. My biological mother also supported me. Wow. I'm really sorry that you went through that. They still said you were faking after witnessing you receive treatments? That's ridiculous. r/Ray said the narcissists. I was asked if I knew what I was putting people through by having cancer. I'm so sorry that I woke up one day and decided I wanted to have cancer just to inconvenience you. If I knew it wasn't convenient for you to worry about me, I never would have decided to jump on the cancer bandwagon. Thankfully never had cancer and hopefully never will, but as a kid got in a pretty serious accident that meant daily physical therapy for hours on end for over a year and a lot of time in a wheelchair. I wasn't of driving age yet, and honestly, probably wouldn't/couldn't have driven myself even if I could. One day my mum was late to picking me up, so I was waiting in the lobby and the receptionist basically said, "Do you even say thank you? Your parents have to deal with a lot because of you, driving you in and out of here every day. Do you even show them you're grateful?" Like, yes, I do. But also, who the hell are you? Who asks that? They asked how my daughter was murdered. I said a knife. They then said, "But I mean how? You found her, tell me how. What did she look like? Was she tortured? ***to answer a few questions. This was not a member of law enforcement. They don't ask questions like that. This was a stranger who saw our story on the news and came up to me in a crowded public place when I was with my older daughter and newborn grandson. I did not react with violence. I was still in shock and numb. It was a surreal experience. I responded very loudly that her questions were inappropriate. She came up to me talking super loud that she had saw us on the news, so she got everyone's attention. I figured I'd speak loud enough for everyone to hear, in case any of them didn't know it was rude to ask things like that. They'd learn that day. She then walked away, took a picture, had her camera go off as she pointed it at us, then called someone, and proceeded to loudly tell them she talked to us. ***, I wish I could say this was the only inconsiderate person we've dealt with. Sadly I can't. But I will say we have had more positive interactions with strangers than negative. My experience on Reddit has been mostly positive. You all are amazing. I joined because my Resora always kept telling me about it. She loved no sleep and I never experienced Reddit until she was gone. Let me show you. I'm so sorry for your loss and all of the horrible chiz you've had to put up with. Wishing you the best. My dad to me, "Did you get fat so I wouldn't molest you?" Usually it takes more words to say so many ducked up things. What the actual duck? Caught my girlfriend of 4 years cheating, and after weeks of self-loathing decided to try and rebound. Ended up sleeping with a girl who always tried hitting on me when I was still in my relationship. While we are ducking, she asks in what was an attempt at being sexy, how does it feel knowing someone who you told you loved every night was doing this with someone else? I'm sorry. How was this an attempt to be sexy? I can't even fathom how that was an attempt to be sexy. Got him. I'd have gone flaccid and died a little inside in seconds. Why don't you just have a baby? Asked a day after I told her I had a miscarriage. After seeing so many miscarriage related posts in this thread, I'm genuinely starting to think that a lot of people might not actually know what a miscarriage is. First time meeting my fiancée aunt, she mentioned that I was part Mexican. And her aunt's first question was, are you here legally? I answered with my Pennsylvania accent, yeah, I was born Delaware County, Pennsylvania. My family background is just Mexican. Edit, grammar. Anyone ever ask you if you speak Mexican? See, that's what I don't understand. Why are the Mexican people treated like they weren't here the whole time? They are technically indigenous to what is now the southern US states and Mexico. I'm native from Canada. Technically we don't acknowledge the US-Canadian border. That's why we are easily able to live in either country. I have an Arabic sounding name, to Westerners anyways, and half my family is Muslim. I'm white and look the part, ethnically Slavic. I was dating someone a while back who took me to meet their family. They did warn me that their father was terribly racist, so I figured that I'd have to endure a couple of uncomfortable questions. Sucks, but it wasn't anything new by that point. First thing I was asked as the man shook my hand was, so how much chiskin is there in you? Just turned around and left the flat without another word. What can you even say at that point? Sorry, nothing about Pope Urban II sounds Arabic. Black guy here. I've gotten weird comments before, but I interrupted my yawn and busted out laughing at chiskin. That's a new one. Why are you gay? I'm effeminate for a man, sure, but I'm not even gay. Ugandan interview intensifies. Who says I'm gay? When I was 16 I got asked by some random guy at my aunt's house if I knew that I was prettier when I wasn't smiling. I've always been self-conscious of my teeth, and he made it so much worse. I'm 28 now and still hate them, but will at least smile in some pic to edit. Someone paid my ransom, I was returned, and I'm able to complete my post. PICTURES**** anyways. Thank you so much, kind internet strangers. I grew up poor, so my parents weren't able to pay for braces, and as much as I hate my teeth, other things always came up first. I'm finally now at a point with some extra money and added health benefits, but of course dentists are closed because of COVID. It'll get there eventually though. Insulting someone's smile or laugh is a horrible thing to do. It takes a lot of joy away when you remember it. Got back from the bathroom at a restaurant. My mom asks in front of my family, do you go into the bathroom to throw up after you eat? I've only been conscious of what I eat after that. Edit. There appears to be some confusion. My bad. It does look like she's concerned, but she spent many years of my life telling me I'm too skinny, I don't eat enough, etc. I was borderline underweight for a long time because of an untreated thyroid condition, but since that incident, my mom has gaslighted me about the body shaming she used to encourage in me and in people around me. I have a complex about going to the bathroom around mealtime now because I don't want people to think I have an ed when in reality, I just need to pee. My mom asked me that once. It was at Thanksgiving and I was in middle school. I was like, no, I went in to pee. She said, you go to the bathroom after you eat every time. I don't believe you. My bad? She started just randomly barging in on me to catch me in the act. She told teachers at school to watch out too. They didn't barge in on me, but I got a lot of looks. I was overweight too, so it's not like I was losing weight or anything. Edit. Wow, 1000 upvotes. Didn't even mean to. Wow. Thanks y'all. I hate reading the similar experiences, and I hope every single one of you have found peace and a healthy way to cope and make a good life for yourself. Love and light. My at the time BF, and I went out on a double date with his brother and GF. I went to the bathroom after I ate and got the same question from the brothers GF. I said no, but that she should, which I know is wrong, and I felt terrible after the fact. She still hates me. What did you do to cause that? After I told a female friend of my ex-boyfriend he cheated on me. Wow. That takes a special kind of a Hillary. Are you going to make your sister's death a national holiday? This was because my sister died at 43, the first significant loss ever in my life. This was the 1-year anniversary of her death, and I knew it would be hard for me, so I requested the day off of work. This was a coworker who could name all of the people she'd lost, so she bragged, since her brother died at age 14, and she said she knew like 30 people who had died since then. I used to put up with her weird quirks, but from that day on I hated her and didn't remain friendly with her. It was the 1-year anniversary of the last time I saw my dad alive, before he died suddenly of a stroke. I was visibly off that day at work, and when I told my boss that was why I was upset, he asked, when are you going to stop using your dead dad as an excuse, eater? I worked for him for a lot longer than I should have after a comment like that, but I'm working for much better people now. What an a-hole. I worked as a waiter for a few years in high school. Elderly gentleman came up to me and asked, is it okay to be dealing with food with all that acne? My parents had a restaurant and they hired this sweet little 14-year-old who was super keen to work. She had a birth deformity in her hands that left her with one thumb and one finger on each hand. She would deliver the plates one at a time, for obvious reasons. A rude old man obviously didn't look at her hands and lectured her on how, if she wants to succeed as a waitress, she needs to learn to carry multiple plates. She nodded and was polite and continued to wait on them. My dad didn't want to embarrass her further by making a big deal in front of her, but when the table left he followed them out and informed the rude old dude about her hands. All his family was super buried and they haven't ever come back. Do you really think you deserve better than my abusive ex? Yes, you do deserve better. Why didn't you just date him? It doesn't sound too horrible by itself, but this was said to me by my best friend's mother shortly after he had killed himself. He had a crush on me for a while, and I loved him dearly, but I'm gay. He wasn't going to change that, and he never really tried to, but his mom thinks he died because I rejected him. Grief does horrible things to people, so I get that she wanted to blame someone other than her son for the pain that she was feeling over his loss, but yikes on her choice of words and outlet. Father-in-law asked me if my husband and I, if we were eating okay while at college. My response was yeah, we're able to make ends meet and get groceries and even have a little money left over. His response was yeah, I can tell you've been eating plenty. Looks like you ate the whole damn grocery store. I was 5'4" and weighed 110 pounds. Sounds like a real charmer. Hope the apple fell far from the tree with that one. Christ on cracker, what did he want you to look like? A skeleton? 110 at 54 is tiny. I'm glad has gotten better. When I was 9, my best friend passed away from a stroke. I was the one who brought her to the school office and stayed with her as paramedics came to take her to the hospital. She died 4 days later. It was an extremely traumatizing experience and caused a lot of pain and mental health issues. I learned to cope by giving myself 2 days of the year devoted to thinking about her and letting myself feel my emotions fully. Those 2 days are her birthday and the day she died. One day when I was in high school, I think around 15 or 16 years old, I was hanging out with my friends at the local park. We were discussing what we were going to do the next day, and I told them that it was the anniversary of her death and that I might not go to school that day. That's when one of my friends turned to me and said, "What are you gonna do? Mourn?" And then she laughed like it was a joke. All I could say to that was, "Yeah, of course." That was the first time I noticed that my friends didn't respect me like they did each other. That was the first time I noticed that my friends didn't respect me like they did each other. Oh man, I know how it feels when you realize the people you've been friends with your whole life don't even like you, they just sorta stand you. Soon after I got home from cremating my child, someone asked if the cremation left chunks of bone, and, if so, did they grind that down? Thankfully I saw the humor in it, largely because I could see his wife wanted to kill him. This is something you ask the employees at the funeral home, not to the attendees of the funeral. I'm Hispanic and a co-worker saw a random Hispanic family and genuinely asked if that was my family. My white friend was joking with her half Hispanic daughter that a family they saw biking at a park they were going past was her family from her dad's side. It turned out that it was. Oh man, I'm Asian, so I get this to a degree too. It reminds me of that Family Guy episode where Peter sees an Asian dude and thinks it's Jackie Chan, and the Asian dude screams at Peter, OMG, it's Malcolm in the middle, like, hey, that guy has brown hair too, are you related? In Lebanese and was on a first date with a guy and he went, is it true our Arab girls are secretly sluts? Since you guys are all oppressed inches. My gay Saudi roommate told me this. Easy to say he didn't get a second date. Well, the human slut rate, or HSR, does fluctuate between cultures, countries, time frames, etc. One thing is certain, that there are no consistent patterns in research provided. I swear people have no common sense. Why are your boobs so small? Like, bruh, because you didn't water them enough. Tell them to duck off. OMG, this reminds of a comment from a co-worker way back. I was on a break with 3 coworkers, and for some reason one of the girls asked why were my boobs different sizes. Without missing a beat, another coworker replied, that's what happens when they are real. We all knew she had fake tits, but it was still funny. I had a best friend die in a freak camping accident. A tree fell on their tent, killing them instantly. I was taking care of their cats during the time, and ended up taking care of most of the logistics of cleaning out their house, cancelling out their graduate program of study, collecting stuff from their place of employment, etc. because their parents were a wreck. I also helped coordinate the funeral and spoke at the wake. Because it was a friend and not close family member, I couldn't take much time off work, so was back at work much sooner than I should have been. All of the faculty and staff I worked with were informed that I was going through some shiz, and mostly everyone kept their distance and were professional. This one faculty member who was a creep and had hit on me repeatedly came up to me one day and said something along the lines of, paraphrasing, "Why do you stupid Americans camp outside anyway?" while laughing. I was washing my lunch dishes in the public break room space at the time, and it was just the two of us. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, slowly turned to him, and calmly said that if he didn't leave the room at that very minute, I couldn't promise what it'd do to him. I was so furious and had to leave work for the rest of the day. People can be the absolute worst sometimes, man. Who would laugh about that? That's a horrible thing to say. I'm very sorry about your friend and that person who said that. Why do you stupid Americans camp outside anyway? Where else are you supposed to camp? Now that your father is gone, you can have your own life. Are you going to have kids? Asked to me by an older cousin at my dad's wake. His body a few feet away from us in a casket. No, I would much rather have my father alive than dead at 63 years old. The sincerest condolences an internet stranger can give. How did you respond? Are you self-conscious about? Well, you can just guarantee that didn't play out very well, especially in the long term. Wow, this question would eat me alive for the rest of my life. Not asked to me, but directed at me, which makes the question worse. My mom once took me and my sister to the farmer's market. For this story it's important you know I'm half Mexican, but my mother is a very white American. This woman at one of the stalls stares at us while we walk towards them. They had something we had come specifically for. As we get to the table, she looks at my mom and at us and then whisper yells, "What are they?" I was probably about 16 at the time, so I was especially pissed off that she couldn't even pose a rude question to me directly. My mom was upset, but answered, "My husband is from Mexico." The woman then said, "Oh, so they're not adopted from somewhere?" I'm a spitting image of my mother, except slightly tan, with darker hair. My mom again answered no. Then she asked if we were here legally. We were born here, and my dad is lucky enough to be a citizen. Then she went on a tangent about some illegal lazy Mexican kid she fostered, and how they're all the same. The entire time she talked, as if we couldn't hear her. The entire experience was very dehumanizing. I'm glad that I've never seen her at that market again. Haha. A few of you were asking why my mom didn't berate/fight that woman. It's simple. My mom is a teacher in a small town. News travels fast. She didn't want to lose her job. I just hate knowing that some people see us as subhuman. When I was living in Japan, I met a few people who were genuinely interested that I was a US citizen with Mexican heritage. It was so amazing to have people react with a sense of wonder and curiosity instead of the occasional mildly racial jokes that I get here in the States. When I was in Afghanistan a while ago, we had an aircraft go down. A couple years later, I was asked by someone how he could get a specific morale patch. The patch was made in memorial of the crew we had lost. The guy who asked me about the patch thought that particular morale patch was cool. When I told him that the patch was made in memoriam, he continued asking how he could get that cool patch. I didn't know what to say. It was super awkward for me. Edit. To be clear, it wasn't that he asked where to get the patch. He knew what happened. It was that, after I told him that the people who had the patch were there when the event happened, which included me, he still pushed that he wanted one, and it felt as if he was asking for mine. He probably didn't know what memoriam meant. When one of my aircraft went down, we all got a memorial patch, but a group of sergeants made a bunch of different, smaller memorial patches and were selling them for $10 each. I'm all for pitching in, but making profits off the death of my friends pissed me off to no end. Makes it even worse that the sergeants were friends of the deceased too. How is your English so good? Well, I'm an English major. Chances are, it is better than yours. I'm ethnically Chinese FYI. Where are you from? California. No. Like. Originally. Oh. California. No. Like your people. My parents are from California. And then the long pause as the person tries to figure out a PC way of asking your ethnicity. Edit. But all joking aside, if you are genuinely curious about someone's ethnicity/heritage/culture, ask them directly. Having been asked all my life, I'm genuinely happy to answer, and I think a lot of people are as well. Some people won't like it, but this is true about anything, not just discussions about culture. Different people have different responses and reactions based on their own life experiences. If you're the kind of person who is wondering about being PC, or trying not to be offensive, or just want to learn more about other people, you're probably not at all offensive, and are the type of person I already enjoy talking to. My sister tried to kill herself, and my ex-roommate told me it was because she didn't believe in Jesus. I've had a Catholic person tell me God let Jewish people die in the Holocaust because they didn't believe in the right faith. Why did your mom try to kill herself? I got that too regarding my dad. From a psychiatrist. Edit. As many people have rightfully pointed out, therapy is different. I've had many therapy sessions around the same topic, but tact matters and there is an actual conversation around it. This psychiatrist was purely judgmental. How I could consider it rape because I used to date him SMFH. It's funny how consent must be obtained prior to each sexual encounter and act. I struggled with trichotillomania as a kid. My mom tried all kinds of things to help me quit the habit. But since it wasn't the root problem, just a symptom of anxiety, most of her attempts made it worse instead of better. I remember one time when my cousins were over for lunch. We were all gathered around the table, enjoying our food and having pleasant conversation, when out of nowhere, my mom announced to everyone, "Have you noticed that you/Shubva has no eyelashes? She always pulls them out." Everyone turned to stare at me, and one of my cousins said disgustedly, "Why would you do that?" I'm so sorry. I feel as someone who still has this, it's quite maddening. The root cause is my OCD. I literally have to pull the same amount out on each side or else it bothers me, and I won't stop until I'm satisfied. I once had a huge gap between my lashes, and had a friend point it out in front of our other group of friends. All night I was questioned and asked to see my lashes, and told how weird I looked. I hope you're better now. I have a seizure-like disorder, choreoathetosis. They present themselves in these really inconvenient episodes where I lose partial control of body parts. One time, I was on a date with a dude, and after I told him of my situation he said, "Wow, it'd be pretty hot to have you seize while we're ducking." Think you could arrange that? Didn't bother with him after that. Your partner is having a seizure. Do you A. fetishize their medical condition and go down on them right then and there? B. call a ducking ambulance? I had a mandatory one-on-one meeting with my high school counselor about college prep, and the first thing he does when I walk in is scan me with his eyes and says, well, I guess we don't need to worry about filing your college athletics form now, do we? And put the form I came in there for to swim in college back in his desk. Edit. There appears to be some confusion. I'm a male and the counselor was implying I was scrawny, and ultimately I decided not to swim in college because the school I chose was D1 and feeds directly into the US Olympic swim team, and I'm not that good, haha. Mean a prick. Constantly. What's the worst call you've ever been on? Don't ask firefighters/EMS this question. Don't ask nurses or doctors this question. Don't ask police officers or military this question. Stop it. I've been legit asked, so do you have PTSD because of work, by a friend's mother before. I don't even know how to answer that. Paramedic here, and I cannot speak for anyone except myself. But I don't mind when people ask. For me, it helps to talk about it, because when I tell the story I can tell them what I did to try to save them, and it makes me realize that I did everything I could, and that person just wasn't meant to survive. It's very easy to think, what did I do wrong? What could I do different, etc. But saying it out loud, you realize you actually did do everything right and everything you could. Again, just my $0.02, and I cannot speak for anyone else in this field. You get her pregnant yet? Asked to my husband by an uncle, right after our second miscarriage. My heart hurts for you. What an absolutely terrible things to say. Miscarriage is a terrible loss. I'm sorry you went through that. Best of wishes. Are you adopted? Emanation female. I was working at a restaurant in college part-time, and one of the white male customers just asked me that with no preamble. Because all Asian girls are adopted out, obviously. I told him I wasn't, after I got over my shock. Like, WTFY, would you ask a stranger that? Wish I had some witty comeback at the time. My ex-mil ran into me and asked when I was due. Thing is, she knew I had miscarried a child with her son. One of the reasons we split up, and also knew because of that I could not have children. I just happened to have a still slightly swollen abdomen after a full and total hysterectomy at the time. Needless to say, I had a very hormonal and emotional response. Well, aren't you happy you had a miscarriage then? Or you'd be a single mom now? Asked by my mom, while trying to comfort me after my fiance cheated. Yeah, no, actually, a late traumatic miscarriage plus depression plus hormones does not make me happy, even if he did cheat. But thanks. Please tell me you stabbed her. You know her brother's death is her fault. Asked me by my mom at the hospital when I was 6, after we just got into a car crash, and he shielded me and took most of the damage which killed him. She blamed me for his death for 11 years after that. I'm very overwhelmed by all the lovely supportive comments and everyone praising my brother. It means a lot to hear all of this after dealing with my brother's death alone for 10 years and believing it was my fault. Thank you all so much. Also sweet supportive comments made my girlfriend cry. She's very happy too. Please stop saying that my mom isn't a terrible person and I should forgive her. This isn't the only thing she's done to me. She sexually, physically, and verbally abuses me. I attempted suicide when I was 12 and she refused to get me help. She told me to kill myself and tried to coerce me into self-harming and killing myself with her just a few months ago. I understand that she's hurt and she lost her son, but I'm her son too, and it's been 11 years. I was 6 and she was 29. I'm 17 now and she's 38. I don't think she should have blamed me for this long, and I don't think my brother's death justifies any of the abuse I endured from her. I hope you know it wasn't your fault and that your mom is a terrible person for that. Hope you have healed from that. Whenever you think of this ugly thing your mother said, remember he loved you. Loved you so much he protected you up until his last breath. And a not so kind duck your mom from an internet stranger. When I told my mother I finally had a girlfriend, her reply was pretty clear. I recommend you be very cautious of any girl that's interested in you. What do you really have to offer? Not much. Gee, thanks mom. I guess the girl was really just after my kidneys. Edit. For the record, I love my mom. This was her misguided way of being overprotective of her naive youngest son. Also, for the record, I do have a lot to offer, and I have a smoking hot wife who's not trying to sell my kidneys on the black market. As far as I know. Why did you tell me, and what did you do to make him do it? Asked by a family member after I told them about the abuse I suffered from my ex-husband. Finally felt safe to talk about it after 6 years, and that was the response. Wow. Strange to think strangers on the internet are more caring than your own family sometimes. Hope you're doing okay. One time someone asked, adoptive father, isn't your real dad, right? No chiz, has not my biological parent. But he is still my dad nonetheless. What a hurtful thing to say. I had a friend who was adopted. One time I was out with him and his mother shopping, and someone said, he isn't your real child, right? After he called her mom. He is tan and has Latin American traces, and she is very white. Her reply was priceless. This isn't your real problem. Oh, so you want a Twix? I'm 30 now, but grew up with a lisp. Was in speech therapy for years. When I was about 8 years old or so, I went up to a concession stand at my brother's little league game. Asked to buy a Twix. The teenage guy behind the counter, trying to impress his lady coworker, decided to repeat my words back to me. Made me cry. One of the only times in my life I've ever seen my mom go full mama bear. She asked me why I was upset, and when I told her, she marched up to that dinky little stand and tore the guy a new one. But yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this question. Weird how little things like that stick with you. Some people ducking suck, but then you get to see the ones who don't. Like my mom. Defender of the little people. Love her. As a 19-year-old disabled woman, I've been asked tons of insensitive things. The most is probably a tie between someone asking me if I'm using a walker for the perks and if I'm faking my disability for better accommodation at university. I can't handwrite, can barely walk without assistance, and can't stand for periods of time. What are the perks, and where can I get them? My brother died while I was in college, and I went to talk to one of my professors in person about missing some important class work for the funeral. I told him why he'd be gone, and all he said was, how did he die? And I was kind of taken aback but told him. His response was, oh, yeah, I guess that's fine if you miss class, and turned back around to his computer. Edit. This professor was also my advisor and the only professor for my major, so we spent a lot of time together. We'd had an established relationship for 3 years at this point and had never missed class before. He definitely knew I wasn't making anything up. This one is more common than you'd think. Lots of students lie about family deaths to get out of class work, like grandmothers, parents, etc. Asking how they part is a question the liars won't be prepared for and can trip them up. Still awful, though. I wore makeup when I was a teenager and I was very insecure. My cousin said, do you wear so much makeup because you have a lot of zits? We later realized she's on the autistic spectrum, and these kinds of comments made a lot more sense knowing that. She's a lot more socially aware now, and I'm proud of her for learning some tact. Good on her for learning to filter her comments. I had bad acne as a teen, and some of the most unintentionally hurtful questions were from little kids because they have no filter. What's wrong with your face? Ooh, why do you have bumps on your face? You can't get mad at 4-year-olds for asking questions because they're curious, but damn. Why can't you just stop embarrassing me like that? My father, the day I was diagnosed with depression, I did not attend his funeral. You have anorexia, right? I have been told I have anorexia to my face. Like, you have anorexia. It isn't a question or anything. And that was before I had my eating disorder. I'm adopted. I hate when people ask if I want to meet my real parents. My parents are the ones who raised and supported me. Are you sure you're really gay? Or are you just saying that for attention? Asked this by a friend who knew I was dating another girl who I made no secret that I was very much in love with at the time. My sister is like that to me. Even though I have a girlfriend who I'm madly in love with, she'll be like, you're only saying it for attention and stuff like that. Or sometimes if we're arguing she'll say that I need to take your dirty lesbian mouth out of the conversation. That chiz hurts. Done crying over your little miscarriage yet? 3 months after stillbirth at 25 weeks. We've all sat down to a family dinner and said grace when my young cousin says to me, "So, you /E_T_, how did your mom die?" So what's wrong with you random stranger in an airplane after seeing my service dog? The dog's just here in case I need help carrying around my Mardan. Are you aware that your biological clock is ticking? When I was 24. Next time I get asked this question I'll straight up answer I have fertility issues. Are you offering to pay for the medical assistance? Mom, are you gay? Me, no. Mom, I'm sure you are. It's okay if you are. Tell me and it's okay. Me, I'm seriously not mom. Mom, but you've never had a girlfriend. You must be. It's okay. I still love you. Me, okay mom, but I'm straight. Spoke with her years later to find out my cousin came out and she thought I always was too. I'm still straight though. Edit. I'm in legit shock that my most upvoted comment has to do with my sexuality and how I told my mom I'm straight. How many months are you? I'm not pregnant, just fat. I'm 240 months, thanks for asking. I've read The Secret to Guessing If Someone Is Pregnant is asking if they have kids. By my mom. What if you just had sex with a girl just to see what it's like? You might like it. I'll give you money. As a gay guy, this shocked me and completely made me lose respect for my mom. I'd make a deal. If you have sex with a girl, she has sex with a girl. Why don't you have kids? I'm a 31/F. If I don't have kids, the details behind that are mine and my husband's. So no stranger, it is not okay to ask me about my baby making machine. Kindly duck off. What were you wearing after being sexually assaulted? Edit. If anyone wanted to know, it was jeans and a black t-shirt. And no, I didn't know him until it happened. I honestly ducking hate how people think what someone's wearing has anything to do with sexual assault or thinking the victim had any say in it. It's like saying to someone who got shot in the ducking lung, well, why weren't you wearing a bulletproof vest? I was describing my ridiculous RGB mechanical keyboard and all the rainbow effects. My terrible coworker declared me gay and asked if I was a top or bottom in front of my boss. Video of the keyboard, YouTube.com profile, Google.com. My psychologist asked me if the man who tried to kill and rape me would have been my type and if I would have given him my phone number if he'd asked me. Changed my psychologist after this. She also told me I was kinda asking for this to happen. After reading this, I'm just trying to figure out how the duck this person got their license to practice. You don't know what fear is in response to admitting to my two best friends at the time that I was afraid of my father. We'd all grown up with abusive dads, but because my family wasn't obvious about it, they believed my home life was perfect. I still have a hard time talking about it, in part because of that conversation. Edit. I didn't realize so many people would relate to this. Obviously not a great thing, but good to know I'm not alone. My home life is definitely better now, living at home due to quarantine. I love my dad. He's an amazing person in a lot of ways. He's had a rough life, and unresolved issues resulted in emotional and mental abuse. Now that he's worked through some shiz and is actively in therapy, our relationship has healed a lot. I hope everyone who's been through this is in a much better place and has a community they can trust. That's the white in you other black people. When I do something that isn't stereotypically black, I'm half black/white and black people are literally the only people that bring it up. Hell, I get that chiz, and I'm 100% black, but act white, and I'm rather light skinned. I also get stupid questions from white women like, do guys like you more because you're black? Or my favorite, why do you date white guys? From people in my family. Like I don't know, maybe it's because we live in a tiny town in Wisconsin. Well, your rape was kinda partly your fault. I mean, why were you drinking? My brother's high school chemical teacher had a C-section. A student asked her, do you think you deserve the child if you couldn't have her naturally? How can you be? That would make me puke. In high school gym clap, the 2 other dudes in my group freaked out him so bad he actually just left the clap. It was cool that people stood behind me for once. In a middle school English clap by a girl who would later become my friend. Hey, get my pencil out of the trash can for me. You're kind of a scrounge, right? Don't you find it weird that you're gonna be a virgin for life? Nothing wrong with being a virgin for life, of course, but I'm not asexual or celibate. I'm just a lesbian. This comment was made by a straight boy who doesn't believe lesbian sex is real sex. 2 examples first. You identify as bisexual, yes, but you're dating a boy, yes. That's stupid. Why don't you just say you're gay? I'm sorry, what? Second, someone told me you self-harm. What? I can't see any scars. Are you faking it? Someone asked me if I worked at a Taco Bell because I looked like someone who would. I don't even know what that means, but it ruined my week. Taco Bell workers, don't take offense to this unless you think that you look like a Taco Bell employee in plain clothes. There's a difference. Who invited you? When a group of kids younger than me asked about my religion, I'm a Muslim. Once I told them, one of the guys responded with, "So you're a terrorist?" Had a former friend get really catty about me getting sober. We hadn't spoken in a couple years before she found out anyway and posted a bunch of pictures of her drinking with a work friend when I turned down an invitation. Captioned, "Here's to my last friend without a drug or alcohol problem." Right. Wonder if she's gotten self-aware about that part yet. The experience made me particularly awkward about people asking me if it's okay for me to drink again yet, though. That's happened a couple of times with casual friends who knew I quit, but didn't know how close I came to dying. Like I've been sober for 8 years for a reason. It's not a court order, lol. I'm Filipina. When I first met my partner's half-brothers, one of them asked me if I already have my green card. As the night went on, one of them also joked and told me I looked like the typical male bride that they see online. My partner and I were high school sweethearts. I was petitioned by my father and the process took 14 years before we were granted citizenship. So hearing that made my heart hurt for my family and their hard work just to get us here in the US. How does it feel to know your mother is burning in hell? After telling my friend's mom that my family didn't really subscribe to God and religion and all that, she didn't miss a beat and then tried to double down why she was right. Why don't you just get a new dog? 2 days after my dog died, she then told me that we are not a pet family because I didn't just go replace our dog that we considered a family member. Some people can be very choose. I hate Patton Oswalt. About 3 weeks after my brother died, I went back to work. This lady and her daughter come in. Never seen her before in my life. She proceeds to introduce herself to me as a good friend of my mother. Never heard her name before. Saw her face. Didn't see her at the funeral. My manager was close by. She starts to say how sorry she is to hear of his passing and goes on and on. I start getting upset. My manager starts to approach us. The lady says, "Oh, how did he die? I heard he killed himself. Is that true?" I froze. My manager grabs me and says to the lady, "Excuse me, she's needed in the back, and if you're not going to buy anything you need to leave." I turned around and walked to the stockroom with tears running down my face. She was the best manager I ever had. Thank you, Johanna. Do you not wash your back? I used to have terrible back before I figured out how to get it under control. Somebody said this to me after we had had sex. Native American here. I always get asked what is your Native American name. It's Jake. Not actually Jake, but a common Western name, like Jake. If I'm feeling cheeky, I go with one who pisses in the wind. Most people get excited and say really, wow, etc. No. If I had an eating disorder, why was I still not skinny? Were you molested as a child? In response to me telling them I'm asexual. Follow-up question. Do you use a vibrator then? Yeah, me boy. Are people going to accept them, my interracial kids? This question came from my mom. Edit. This happened when we talked about sending them to language schools. My mom realized what she had said afterwards and apologized after talking to my father. He told her if she ever wanted to have a relationship with their grandkids, she'll have to rethink what really matters. She's never had an issue since this happened. Someone asked me what my due date was when I wasn't pregnant. The worst part is I'm 5 feet 2 inches and weighed about 125 pounds at the time and was buying alcohol in a liquor store while on vacation. That comment ruined my trip because I didn't want to eat anything because I was worried I looked fat. I was holding my 2-month-old and a cashier lady asked when I was due. I told her 2 months ago and pointed to my kid. To her credit, she apologized, but I still cried for an hour or two. Women should know better than that. Damn, I'm all mad again, and this was 9 years ago. My daughter died at birth. A week later, while briefly visiting work, a coworker asked if I still consider her my daughter because she never really lived long outside the womb. Some people really are lost for words, I guess. I can't get a good shot. Would mind moving? Said my cousin, sitting behind me at my grandfather's funeral. I'm still mad I didn't throw him in the casket too. Large breasts run in my family. I'm 135 pounds and 5 feet 9 inches, and I wear a size 30G bra. If I'm wearing anything remotely form-fitting, you can absolutely tell that I have cartoonish, absurd, grapefruit-sized tartars. I don't like them, and I'm actually on a waiting list for a reduction because I have no illusions about the advance of gravity. At a dinner party I threw a few months ago, the wife of a friend asked me whether they were implants as I was serving her food in front of the whole table. There's no good way to answer that. Edit. Rip my inbox. No, I will not send you pics. Tell her you tell me and smack her with them. At your dominance. Are you an artsy? No, I'm just German. Are you sure you want to take the advanced math class? Well, yes, I hear they serve a delicious pie. IDK if this counts, but one time I was in the hospital for having stomach pain, so severe that I had passed out at home from the pain, and after telling the nurse at the hospital trying to give me in fourth that I hated them cause when I was younger it took the doc 5 tried to get it in. Then she proceeds to take 6 tries to get it in, and while I was groaning from the ducking ridiculous pain and her wiggling it around in my arm, she looked at me and said, "You really don't have a high pain tolerance, do you?" I wanted to punch her in the face. Didn't say anything though cause I just wanted her to get the 4th in and get the duck out, lol. So when is this trans phase going to be over? Thanks dad. Well, transitional phases usually do have a time limit. Water heated to 212 F will transition from a liquid to gas. Cooled to 32 F will transition from liquid to solid. Were you born here? Some people can't differentiate East Asian people. For the millionth time, I'm not Chinese. No, I'm not sick. Yes, I make sure I don't get sick. Edit. Realized 70% of these comments are people dealing with racism. Now I'm sad. I'm Indian and dating a white dude from the Midwest. I made a kicker melted brie for a Thanksgiving appetizer. One of his aunts told me that was so good. Maybe next time you can make something that your people eat, with the emphasis and everything. Excuse me, my people eat turkey and dressing for Thanksgiving and we actually season it all. Karen. My sister called to let me know my grandma had passed away while I was at work. She had been ill for a while, but I still wasn't prepared for it. She was the first person I was close to who I'd lost. I went to talk to my boss so I could go home and sit with my family. I told him and then had to sit in his office trying to hold back tears as he asked me 1,000,001 questions. I was trying to answer until he asked, "Were you even that close to her anyway?" I was astounded, and after I regained composure I just walked out of his office to go 2 hours. I work for a company that has a clientele that is majorly one religion, without saying too much, and when I get asked constantly about my religion it's a bit much. I don't lie and pretend to be what they are, so some people get really pissy and belittle me, make me feel somehow insignificant. My mother-in-law asked me and my wife when we were going to have another kid a few minutes after my wife was brought back to the room after she had an emergency C-section. A few years later it was very gratifying to describe my vasectomy procedure in graphic detail to her. When are you having kids? Get ducked. Firstly, what makes you think I want them? Secondly, what if I do but can't? Mind your own ducking business, it doesn't concern you. Did you kill anyone in the war? Why didn't you like it though? Why is it such a big deal? Random person to me, when I talking about my brutal rape on Reddit on my old account, had to delete it, because I actually got rape threats, go figure. I was altered at a mental health facility by a female nurse, because she wanted to attempt conversion therapy on me. I'm transgender, FTM, so yes I'm male. I don't know Judith. Going home after several days with a newtie, scratched up / bleeding on my insides, fingerprint bruises, and PTSD that last to this day, that make me unable to go to the doctor alone as a 22-year-old man and going into fight or flight when seeing a female nurse / doctor despite it being 3 years ago not being a big deal to you, then geez you got me. I have a lot of scars on my legs from eczema growing up, and it took me years to feel comfortable showing my legs again. Mom saw me in shorts, about to head out, and asked why, are you wearing shorts? Aren't you ashamed of your scars? Thanks mom. I guess not too insensitive, but still really annoying. Are you sure those are your brothers? Asked by a security guy at a college thing where only my family could come inside with me. Then scoffed in my face when I answered yeah buddy I'm sure. I was adopted and am tan, short, have dark hair, while my brothers have fair skin and are very tall. We look different yeah, but families don't always have to look like each other. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome dude. Thanks for watching.